right? Yavadiyata niriksheham. So there is a lot of I, me, and all those things. It's kind of, it's implying that Arjuna is kind of approaching with some pride. So that is not to be right. I mean, that is not right. So Krishna has to kind of set it right, because his whole teaching is about one has to do the karma as an Bhagavad Aradhan, right, with all humility, and one has to do, and then so he's not approaching it right. So that has to be set right. And then another one is Arjuna is the Indra Avatara himself, right? So he is an approximate, he knows everything. There's no point in doing Upadesha to somebody who already knows, right? You have to do Upadesha to somebody who wants to know, right? Who doesn't know, who wants to know. But in this case, Arjuna already, knows about it. Then how does he do? So then that is when kind of Krishna kind of plays a trick. And then he basically messes up, he wants to mess up Arjuna's mind. And then he creates some kind of a confusion. It's called the Tirodhana, right? He induces the Tirodhana in Arjuna's mind. And then Arjuna, now we can see that, and Miraji herself said the Karpanya dosha, Upastha Svavaha. See, look at the, one who is starting with arrogance and pride. In no time, he is at Krishna's feet, saying that, I don't even know who I am, right? Upahata Svavaha, even my nature, I have lost it, right? Dharma samurda chetaha, I lost the concept of dharma. What is dharma? What is adharma? Even that I have lost. So please, what is right for me? Yashrayat, Yashraya, Syat, Nichitam Bruhitan me. Right? Sishyasteham Tvam Prapannam. So I now, please take me as your Sishya, and then kind of teach me what is right, teach me what is dharma and other thing. Then only Krishna starts teaching. So firstly, he has to create that kind of a transformation in Arjuna. So these are the things that Krishna was doing when he puts the Ratha in kind of front of him. Then the next slide is my last slide, right? Then because, how do we know? Because, I'm sorry, some more. So this is again taking Gita verse itself, that Krishna is able to do that, and then he did it, right? Buddhi Jnanam, Asammoha, Kshama Satyam, Damasamaha. In the 10th chapter, he said all of these things. Mattayeva Pratakvida. So they're all coming from me only. That means the buddhi, jnana, asamoha, right? Whatever the Arjuna that he lost or whether he's having, and all those things. Mattayeva Pratakvida. That means he's controlling all of that. He is the Niyamaka, right? And then he is Sarvasujagam Hridasannivishto Mattas Pritir Jnanam Apohanancha. So even that one is, I am controller of that. And then Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Siddheshe Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayan Sarva Bhutani Yantra Rudhani Mayaya. So he's saying that I am sitting in everybody's heart, and then kind of moving them like an, and then rotating them like a machine. So meaning that he's capable of like doing all of that and everything. And then that is what Krishna has kind of, in my mind, looking at all of these things, he purposely went and messed up Arjuna's mind and creating that Tirodhana in him, and then and then so that he will be worthy of listening the Upadesha, and then get the right knowledge, and then do right thing accordingly. And which Arjuna himself admits in the next slide, right? At the end, after listening to everything, saying, now he's saying, Nashto Moha Smritir Labda. So now he says, I now remember what I lost. So that means he already knew before. So it is a very clear thing that whatever that was happened to Arjuna was in a temporary lapse of knowledge. And then that is again induced by Krishna, right? And then he also, even to remove that, he has to rely only on Krishna again, right? Tat prasadat, right? By your grace, I get it back by through your Upadesha and everything. Karishe vachanam tava. Now I will do what you say. Arjuna doesn't say anything after that. He keeps quiet. That means he says only one thing, I will do what you say. Meaning now he has clearly understood all of that. So that is what now is so clear about what is dharma, what is adharma, and everything. So now he is very clear about his action. That is what we also need to get into. So that's why Krishna says, Tasmat Sastram Pramanante Karya Karyau Vyavastitau, right? Jnatva Sastra Vidanaktam Karma Kartum Harhasi. So that is a message of Krishna to us and for the humanity and everything. So knowing what is dharma, what is adharma, we have to go according to what is, where do we know that one from? Shastras, right? Arjuna had the luxury of hearing it from Krishna himself, right? We don't. So through knowing the Shastras, through a guru, We have to know what is dharma and adharma and conduct ourselves accordingly. And then if all the human beings also do, as many people do this one, it is good for the world. So with that, thanks for the opportunity, and I submit this one to Sri Krishna and to Krishna Arpanam.
ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು ಜಿ.ವಿ. ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ್ ಅವರದು. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟು ಹಾಗೆ ಇತ್ತು. ನೀವು ಮತ್ತು ಮೀರಾ ತಾಡಪತ್ರಿ ಅಥವಾ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆ ಆಗೋರೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಇದನ್ನ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಆ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಟ್ ಅಥವಾ ಹೇಳುವ ಶೈಲಿ ನೋಡಿದ್ರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ರಾಜಾಂಗಣದಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ದಿನ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಉಪನ್ಯಾಸದ ಸರಣಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಮಾಡಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿರ್ತದೆ. ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾದ ನಿರೂಪಣೆ, ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಗೊಂದಲ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಥವಾ ಶಬ್ದವನ್ನ ಹಾರಿಸುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ಗೆ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಯನ್ನ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ಕೇಶವ ತಾಡಪತ್ರಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತೀವಿ. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು.
ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳು ನಮಗೆ ಹೇಳಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಲ್ಲ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದನ್ನ ನಾವು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಮುಂದಿನ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ವಿವೇಕ ಶ್ರೀವತ್ಸ ಅವರದು. ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಆರಂಭ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ.
ಶಾಸ್ತ್ರಿ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. So I'll share my screen. Let me know if you can see it. Is my screen visible, Acharya?
Clear ಇದೆ.
Okay. Om Sarva Vigna Prashamanam Sarva Siddhikaram Param Sarva Jiva Pranetaram Vande Vijayadam Harim Abhramam Bhangarahitam Ajadam Vimalam Sada Ananda Tirtha Atulam Bhaje Tapatrayapaham Prithvi Mandal Madhyastha Purna Bodha Matanuga Vaishnava Vishnu Hridyastan Namaste Gurun Mama. Shri Shri Shubhnendra Tirth Swaminah Srimati Charanan Evam Shri Shri Shushindra Tirth Srimati Charanan Namaskritya Vyakhyanam Samarpayamyaham. Vidyaman Anusritya Suvidya Prasaranam Muta Prayage Akro Nityam Vidyatma Tirtham Gurum Bhajet. Many namaskar to Prasanna Acharya and Gopalacharya. My many namaskar to Shri Keshavrao and Srimati Meeraji, who are my constant guide. The Bhagavad Gita is one of the most important texts, and Swamiji has started this Vishwa Hitaya Bhagavad Gita for the betterment of the world. There cannot be any other granth which is as great and as much in importance as Bhagavad Gita. And Lord himself has given discourse in two of his rupas on Bhagavad Gita, as Lord Krishna to Arjuna and to the world through Bhagavan as a Bhagavan Vedvyas avatar. So the importance of the text, given that the importance of the text, there are many commentators who have written commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. And even today, there are many who still write commentaries on it. But not all commentaries are equal. Some are better than others. The strength of a commentary depends upon the Vak Siddhi of the commentator, their own understanding or the Tattva Gyan that they have, and the effort that they put in. So in this context, we will look at the 16th shloka of 2nd Adhyay and see how we can use this shloka as a litmus test to analyze the strength and the relative merit of a commentary. The reason for this is that there are myriad meanings of term Sat and Asat and Bhav and Abhav. Thus, if one studies this shloka well, they can compare their understanding with that of a commentator to conclude the relative merits for themselves. So, first what we need to do is we need to, after explaining to Arjuna why he should not be grieving for those who are going to die in the war, and he must patiently perform his duty as per his varn and ashram, Lord starts to teach him Sankhya Yoga. So the context, we must understand the context for this. So to properly analyze these commentaries, this understanding of this context is important. So Arjuna has expressed grief, yat chokam uchoshanam indriyanam and as he thinks about having to kill Bhishma Pitamaha and Dronacharya and other relatives. He says he is dharma sammudha chetaha. He is not able to discriminate between the right and the wrong. And he requests Lord to properly instruct him. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam. Lord tells him why he should not grieve for people who will die in the war. First, there is no killing of the jiva. The soul does not die. And the body is ever changing, so there should not be a cause of grief for the loss of the body. And if he's grieving because he'll not have the pleasure of interacting with Bhishma Pitamaha and his Guru Drona, this grief is because of his abhimana rooted into his attachment with them. So this Lord tells him to make it to root out these abhimana. And then Lord is telling him to do your duty. You have to do your duty, and people who are dhiraha, they eventually obtain moksha. So he's told he should be steadfast in his Kshatriya dharma, which will lead to moksha. Given this context, let us look at some of the commentators as to what they have to say. So I've taken some excerpts from several commentaries. The first three commentators, they treat the Sat as something that exists always, and Asat that cannot come into being, which is non-existent entity. And the fourth commentator, he treats the body as Asat, Asataha. In each of these cases, we end up with some conclusions which are absurd. There is a permanent, so what it says is there is a permanent thing which we call Sat, which never changes, and anything that changes is Asat. Also, this is contradictory to our experience. These meaning also don't fit into the context. They seem to be more on the track of defining Sat and Asat, which is not the objective here. The meaning, the asataha, the meaning unreal, is very infrequently used in this sense in our common usage of the word. We say satmarg, satkarm, sajjan. Sat colloquially is used in the sense of good, right, and proper. It is also used to represent Lord, who is Satya Sankalp. Also, the meaning of bhav and abhav, the way they have been used in these commentaries, existence and non-existence, appears rather restrictive, and this is an unconventional usage of the term. These terms are more commonly used to denote having or lack of something. Sukha bhav, dukha bhav, yogyata, asamarthata, capable of being changed, incapable of being changed, samarpan bhav, and so on and so forth. So how do we analyze the commentaries? We'll use a simple rubric. So three things we could look at. The commentaries should be consistent with the experience, and there should be an internal and external consistency in the commentaries. It should be supported by logic, and it should also be supported. If it's also supported by verbal testimony, they become stronger. The context or the chain of thought should not be lost. So there has to be avataranika, which is the chain of thoughts linking the things to the meaning that we arrive at in that shloka. And then the meaning should also be based on etymology, yoga, and the rudhi. In Bhagavad Gita Bhashya, Acharya has said, Bharatam chapi kritvan panchamam ved uttamam dashavarartham sarvatra kevalam Vishnu bodhakam parokchartham tu sarvatra vedat api uttamam tu yat. So in Skanda Puran, it is said that there are 10 different meanings in each of the shloka, and all these meanings are essentially telling the Mahatmya of Lord Vishnu. So we will look at some of these meanings to see how the chain of thoughts can be connected from the previous shloka, which is Yam hinavathyanyete purusham purushar sabha samadukha sukham dhiram somritatvaya kalpate. So one who is steadfast in his duty eventually obtains moksha. And the subsequent shloka after nasato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata avinashitu tadviddi yena sarvamidam tatam. The first one is the God is, so question Arjuna is asking this question, how to become Dhira? You said that Jiva is eternal and these other entities which are eternal, are there other entities which are eternal other than the Lord? So Lord tells him, when you know the real nature of the entities in the world, then you will become Dhira. Yes, there are other entities other than Lord which are eternal. So Asatah, here Mool Prakriti, he is giving a drishtant of Mool Prakriti, just like Lord is eternal and he's Deshatah, Kalatah and Gunatah, there is no Abhav in Paramatma. Similarly, the Mool Prakriti also Deshatah, Kalatah, there is no Abhav in Mool Prakriti. Then another question that could be asked here is what will moksha do if it is not Shashvat? So moksha is Shashvat. Are there things which are permanent? So Lord is telling, Arjuna's question is that you have said some dukkha sukham dhiram kalpate. In this world, we see things being destroyed. So is it possible to get permanent moksha? So Lord answers, separate from the sthul, jada prakriti, there is a mool prakriti, which has a which the mool prakriti has prag bhav and pradhansha bhav. The learned don't think so. Just like Lord does not have prag bhav and pradhansha bhav. Therefore, there are entities which are which is shashvat in nature. Then another question that could be asked here: can killing my kinsman, and this is something which has bothered Arjuna, can killing my kinsman lead to good? So will I not go to Naraka? So Lord tells, when you do your duty, when you do the satkarma, firmly established in your duty, here the sat means satkarma, means fighting the war as per the Kshatriya dharma, then you will obtain sukha only. For those who don't do their duty, abstain from their duty, or do wrong deeds, they will obtain dukkha. And this is the final conclusions that has been seen by the Tattvadarshinaha. Another question that can be asked, Arjuna can say, you are trying to teach me, give me all these reasoning that I should fight the war. Why don't you go give this instructions to Duryodhana? Why don't you convince Asatjiv to change his ways? So Lord's answer is, the nature of the jiva is eternal, it cannot be changed. The dusht jiv can never be changed to instill bhakti in him, just like the sat jiv cannot be changed to remove bhakti from him. And this has been the final conclusion of the Tattvadarshinaha. Another meaning that we can apply here is, then why don't you change the nature of the Duryodhana? Why don't you make him a Sajjeev? That also, the Jiva cannot be destroyed. Nasata Dushta Jeev cannot be changed, just like Bhakti cannot be removed from the Sajjiva. And the Dushta Jiva cannot be taught the Bhakti. Another meaning is, why can't we ignore acts of Dushta Jiva? Arjuna was saying that I will go to jungle and why can't I live there? Why do I have to engage in this ignominious war, which is going to cause so much of destruction? So the asata here means Dushta Jiv, the acts of the Dushta Jivas, and should not, vidyate bhavaha, should not be ignored. The acts of Dushta Jiva should not be ignored, just like the suffering of the Sajjiva should not be ignored. So both from this standpoint also, you should fight in this war. Another meaning is, what is the nature of Jiva? Who gives moksha? So this is a very pertinent question, because the jiva is not it's going to take him time to obtain the moksha. So the all jivas, Arjuna's question is that all jivas are different. What is the nature of this difference? And what happens to the jiva when he obtains the moksha? Who gives the moksha to the jiva? So Lord has himself given himself as an example. Just like I am eternal, so is the jiva. Jiva is also eternal. I am from the beginningless time. I'm independent doer. Bhavaha that's the meaning of the bhavaha. Jiva are dependent doer. Based on their gunas and karma, they are yoked into action by me. I'm the giver of moksha to the jiva. Another question that we can ask based on the context is, even if we fight this war, we may lose, and dusht janaha, the evil people may prevail. So here the tattva darshinaha, it says the asataha, the evil, will win the war, will not win the war. Na asataha vidyate bhava. They will eventually not win the war, and the good will not lose the war. So this is the pratigya of the Lord. So in the long run, the evil people will bear the consequence of their action, and the good people who are making efforts, Sajiv, they will also come out successful. So another question that could be asked is, bhakti not sufficient for moksha? Do we need to engage in this violent act of war? So Arjuna is asking this question, oh Lord, even if we fight this war, we may lose this battle, and evil people will continue to prosper. So in the long run, evil will lose the battle, and good will always win. Arjuna is asking, if I can do bhakti and be devoted to you, will you give me moksha? Why do I have to engage in this violent war? Tatkim karmani ghore mam niyojayasi keshavaha. So here the Lord is saying, without performance of one's own duty, one cannot obtain moksha. Abstaining from duty is not a way to please the Lord. Lord has said in chapter 3rd, parasparam bhavayantah shreya paramavapsataha. One has to play their part in this Jagat Chakra. Only then they can prosper. One last meaning I'll give is Arjuna is asking a question. He can ask that you are yoking me into this terrible war, which I don't want to do. If you don't give me mukti, why can't I go to propitiate to mother and request her for moksha? So here asataha means Prakriti Abhimanini Lakshmi Devi, and she can also give the moksha only by propitiating to Lakshmi Devi. Who's also a Nitya Mukta, but she's also dependent upon me. Know that there is no moksha without by only propitiating to Lakshmi Devi, because I am the one who gives her the ability to grant moksha. Therefore, such a path would be difficult. So these are various different meanings that this particular shloka, we can derive these various different meanings by using the yoga and the rudhi conventional meanings from the Shabdakosha for sat, asat, bhav, and abhav. And these contexts could be, we could put it in the context based on the previous shloka and the subsequent shloka. So the final takeaway for us from this shloka is that in this world we see that people who are engaging in unrighteous acts, they seem to be enjoying things, but the Sajjan people are engaging in this satkarma, they seem to be having difficult time. So Lord gives an assurance that moksha will be obtained by Sajjan Dheer Purush who follows the Bhagavad Dharmacharan. This justice is guaranteed by the Lord himself, who pervades the time and space and is complete in all respect, in all auspicious qualities. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಗಂಭೀರವಾಗಿ ವಿಷಯ ನಿರೂಪಣೆ, ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷವಾಯಿತು ವಿವೇಕ್ ಅವರ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್.
धन्यवाद.
आपको धन्यवाद.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आचार्य.
आप आइए उडुपी कृष्ण सन्निधान में एक आपका उपन्यास होना चाहिए.
जरूर आचार्य.
ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು. ಮುಂದಿನ ವಿಷಯ ಪ್ರಸ್ತಾವನೆಯನ್ನ ವೆಂಕಟ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್ ಅವರು ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತೀಯಾ? ಆರ್ ಯು ಏಬಲ್ ಟು ಸೀ ದ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್?
ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತದೆ. ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಇದೆ.
ಹರಿ ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀ ವೇದವ್ಯಾಸ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀಮದ್ ಆನಂದ ತೀರ್ಥ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಪುತ್ತಿಗೆ ಶ್ರೀಗಳು ಶ್ರೀ ಸುಗುಣೇಂದ್ರ ತೀರ್ಥ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಗೆ, ಶ್ರೀ ಸುಶೀಂದ್ರ ತೀರ್ಥ ಸ್ವಾಮೀಜಿ ಮತ್ತು ನನ್ನ ಗುರುಗಳು ಕೇಶವರಾಧಾಧಿಪತಿ. Then all the, Englishly ಹೇಳ್ತೇನೆ. So all the other Sadbhaktas who are assembled here. Today my attempt is to this topic, Krishna's clarion call for action. Basically, what I want to go over here is to give a bird's eye view of why Krishna throughout Bhagavad Gita has repeatedly referred to karma. So the Bhagavad Gita actually, it starts with Dhritarashtra where he says that, hey Sanjaya, what happened in the battlefield between my sons and Pandavas? So Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. And also when Gita ends, it also ends with Kuru. Iti te jnanam akyatam gushyat guhyatam. I gave you the most secretive knowledge. Yata ichi tata kuru. After you have understood everything what I have told, you do take an informed decision. So basically, from the beginning to the end, it is filled with action, and there is Krishna's clarion, very very urgent. The very what you can say, profound call to do actions, and then we'll see. We'll try to get a bird's eye view of the whole thing. Now, the fundamental question is karma a mere mechanical action? That's what most of the people understand in the today's world. Is karma is a mere mechanical action? Then, if it is not a mechanical action, then will these karmas bind us? Because it's like a boomerang. You do something for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So if there is just a mechanical action, if it's not a mechanical action, will the karmas bind us? Then if karmas bind us, then can we be without doing any karmas? Let us not do any karmas, so they will not bind us. Then the next thing is it possible to do the karmas and not get bound by them? Okay. Then what are the different types of karmas? Then what is karma yoga? Will that lead to knowledge, and will that eventually lead to moksha? Then the next question is, if karma leads us to greater knowledge and moksha, then what if we just start it and quit it? Or then we start and go some distance and then quit in the middle. So we'll try to attempt to get the answers to all these questions in this short presentation. Now the first question is karma a mere mechanical action? The answer is no, because we as human beings, we are endowed with the sixth sense. So there is some purpose, and there is some and there is an end result for the actions, and thus we will try to unravel this as we go forward. Now the second question was, will karmas bind us? So Krishna says that in the third chapter, yajnartat karmona anyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. So in Vishnu Sahasranama also we see this word yajna repeated. So yajna means Vishnu. So if you do actions which are not for Krishna, or having Krishna in your mind, they all will bind us. The reason for that is, you will see that, for example, we see this very famous shloka, Sarvadevanskaram Keshavam Pratigachati. Even if you do to other deities, they eventually submit it to Krishna. So what happens is, if you don't submit our actions to Krishna, and so if we do to please somebody else or something, or for pleasing oneself, that only will bind you. So again, basically, I am not doing it, and I'm trying to go jump here and there just to get to lead to my main topic. But before that, if you go to the Devasura Sampad Yoga, it says that Idamadyam maya labdam imam prapsite manoratam. So if this is a person of egocentric nature, he says that I got all this wealth, I'm going to enjoy it, and then this wealth will also remain forever. This kind of egocentric thing, they'll bind you, they'll put you down. So these are some of the shlokas which gives us the indication that the karmas will bind us. Then, is it possible, if karma binds us, can we be doing let's not do any karma at all? Let's keep quiet. Is it possible? No. He says that nahi kaschit chalamapi jatu tishthate akarma krite. Hey, you cannot be even 1 second, you cannot be without doing karmas. You have to do karmas. Sleeping is a karma, sitting is a karma, everything is a karma. Why? Because karyate hi avashaha. See, avasha means it is Vishnu. Everything is under his control. When you are under his control, if you are in somebody else's control, you will be doing. So, and also prakriti jai gunahi. That is, you are under the satparajas tamas. You have to do karmas. There is no other choice. So you cannot be without doing karmas. And also he says that, hey, if you have to go to moksha, you cannot say that I will not do any karmas. You have to do karmas. And then, so this is the idea that karmas will, we cannot be without karmas. Karmas will bind that. But then next question is is it possible to do karmas and not get bound by them? Yes, it's the previous sloka also I'm referring. It says that if you do karma with the prism of Krishna, that is, if you do karmas to please Krishna, then you will be freed of the bondage. So tadattam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samacharaha. So if you do for Krishna, for pleasing Krishna, what will happen is you will be not bound by not bound by them. So this what I think previous also we saw so many presentations which also touched upon this topic. Now, what are the types of karma? Karma, akarma, vikarma. Actually, in one shloka, akarma refers to both inaction and also the wrong actions. So, kim karma, kim akarma iti, kavayopiti mohitaha. So even the great jnanis are bewildered by what is correct karma, what is not wrong karma, there is forbidden karmas, or not anything. So Krishna is going to explain that, and in this 4th chapter in detail. And also one interesting thing is karmanya akarmaya paschet akarmanyi cha karmayah sabuddhiman manusheshu sayukta Krishna karma. So basically this is a very important shloka saying that it's seeing karma, seeing action in an action, and then seeing inaction in action. It is very puzzling. So here the way, the takeaway from this is, for example, we are the independent doership, dependent doership comes into play. That is, even though we are doing something, we are not the independent doer. We should see the hand of God and the independent doership of the Lord Vishnu in our actions. Similarly, when we are not doing anything, we are sleeping. In our dream, Krishna creates objects in the dream, and then he is the creator there. So we have to see the independent doership of the God and then the dependent doership of karma. So if you are dependent, it is equal to not doing any karma because you are not dependent on him. So if God is doing everything, he's the person who is actually doing the karma because he's the independent doer. And also the same thing can mean that karma means karma refers to a jiva who is bound by rules. That is vidhi nisheda. He is bound by vidhi nisheda. Akarma means it means Vishnu who is not bound by realism. He is swatantra purusha. So this is the type of karmas we can see. The last thing is, then what is karma yoga? What is the definition of karma yoga? What it means by karma yoga? Will that lead to knowledge, eventual higher, greater knowledge and moksha? So karma yoga can be defined like this: you have to perform all the actions without any desire for the fruits of actions. You do something, and then because the fruit of action is not under your control, because you are not independent, you are a dependent doer. Somebody else deciding the fruits of the action. So you do the actions without any desire for the actions. Then you do the karma after only winning over dualities. I don't care about the loss or gain of my action. whether it's going to be happening or suffering. Because this is see, for example, this whole Bhagavad Gita is about the war. You lose, you will win. You don't know. It's a very big thing. So that duality, you have to go past that. Then the third thing is you do the actions with arpana buddhi, meaning offering all our actions to the Lord. Then also you have to do the action with the attitude that, or the attitude or the anusandhana that you are not the independent doer. Vishnu is the independent doer. And then whether it is a small action or big action doesn't matter. We are always independent, dependent doer. For example, you take the biting of the tongue. Even without your knowledge, it happens. How is it possible? So that means you don't have control even over small things. The next thing is performing actions. Again, it's a similar thing, thought that Vishnu is the Supreme Lord. Then the next thing is doing your Swadharma. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. His Swadharma is to wage the war and protect his people, and then defeat the evil people. So you have to do his Swadharma. And then Paradharma is forbidden, because even though you're good at Paradharma, that is not going to do anything good. It's only going to create confusion. So better you do Swadharma, which is even if it's not so good. So in this context, Krishna says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chesa nirashi nirmamo bhutva. He says that, see, you submit all actions to me, thinking that I am the Supreme Lord. Don't have attachment to any of the fruits, and don't think that you are the doer. You do the action. So in this context, Srimad Acharya, he quotes a very important thing. Naham karta harihi karta tat puja karma chakilam tatapi matkrita puja tat prasadena nanyata tad bhakti tat palam maksham tat prasada punah punah karmanyaso harerevam vishnu tritikasa. So basically what that means is, Vishnu is the independent doer, we are the dependent doer. You do all the actions for pleasing Krishna. So that is the pramana. It is from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana. The next one is, if karma leads us to moksha, what if we quit in just because after just initiating the karma, or if you do some karma to some extent and then stop in the middle? So this is a very good hitopadesha for all of us. That is that if you do actions with Krishna in our mind, then it will only lead us to greater good. So, neha vikramanachosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayato mahadeva. So even if you do the actions, which is, if you start the action and you give up, or if you do the actions to some extent and give up, still it is all benefit for us only. For that, Acharya quotes from Agneya Purana, prarambam matra ichava Vishnu dharma nanishpala nacha anya dharma akarana doshan Vishnu dharma gati. So basically, even a mere desire to do Vishnu dharma will only, or even barely starting to adhere Vishnu dharma will certainly give fruits. By adhering to Vishnu dharma and rejecting dharma, there will be no fall. So that's what he says, sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. So to give a laukika example, for example, if you are a farmer, if you don't sow the seed at the proper time, then it will not sprout. Similarly, if a farmer does not take care of the field properly after sowing, he cannot harvest. So these are the problems. But in Vishnu dharma, it is not there. And again, similarly, you go into a student, chemistry, physics, something like that. If you don't start at the proper age, then you may not even study in the future. Or if you discontinue to study, then his efforts are wasted. So again, from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, he's talking what is Vishnu dharma. So quickly go through that. Knowledge of Vishnu Sarvatma is the best. He's the best of the best. Vishnu is the best of the best. Uttama Purusha tu anya Paramatma iti udarata yolokatrema vihibhadde. So basically in the 15th chapter he says that Uttama Purusha, the best of the best, is only Vishnu. He pervades all the words, and then he holds all the words. Then all the actions, prescribed action, should be done with Vishnu, keeping Vishnu as the objective. So for Vishnu Prityartham we have to do yat karoshi, yat asnami, yat juhoshi dadasi, yat tapasyami komte tat kurushmana. So everything you do arpanam to, whatever you do, your tapas, your dana, everything should be done and as a Krishna arpana. And then this type of dharma was practiced in the Kruta Yoga with the sole intention of pleasing Vishnu, according to Pancha. So in Kruta Yoga they did this. It was very common in those Kruta Yoga, in Satya Yoga, based on the Pancharatra and the Vedas. Then he says that even a drop of water or a grain of rice given as a charity It's only to please Vishnu with no desire for fruits. The same thing is echoed in Bhagavad Gita also. Patram pushpam palam toyam yo me bhaktiya prayachidi tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmana. So it means even if you give a small thing with bhakti, I take it. Then the next thing is we have to have constant devotion to him without an iota of doubt that nobody is higher or equal to him and everything is under control. This also echoes in Bhagavad Gita. Matta parataram nasti kinchitasya dhananjaya mayi sarvavidam protam sutre maniganayava. Then again Vishnu Dharma is Keshava is not only the creator. Many people say that, he has only one action. No, he is the creator, he is the sustainer, he is the controller, he is the annihilator, he is the giver of knowledge, ignorance, he is the giver of ignorance, bondage and release. And you should understand the difference Panchaveda between Jiva, Jalas and Ishvara. Then you should also have a knowledge of the hierarchy of souls and then understand supremacy of the Hari. Because if you have to understand supremacy of Hari, you have to understand the souls which are dependent on him and what is the hierarchy in them. Then again, we were seeing that in other yugas this was common. And this is, by following this dharma in Kali Yuga, this is going to give us good benefits also, because it is very difficult to follow this in this Kali Yuga. And for this, we can take an example from Srimad Bhagavatam, where in 5th canto, Narada, when he is describing about the Bharatavarsha, he says that Kalpayusham Sthanajayat Punarbhavat Shanayusham Bharata Bhuta Jayavaraha Shanena Matyena Kritam Manaskina Sanyasya Sanyatmayam Padamari. Basically, what it means is if you are born in Kali, in this Bharatavarsha, whatever even the little time you spend here knowing about Lord Krishna, that is going to give greater benefits, because even people, great celestial beings, they have a very long life, but still they come to the lower lokas. So that is why it is like this. And again, to end with, any Bhagavata, that is devotee of Hara, who believes in all these things, will eventually, you will get the grace of Lord and go to Mukti. Manmana bhava matbhakto matyajo mam namaskuru mamevashai satyam na pratyadani priyosmite. The last one is, again, he says that Traividya Dharma, people like that, people who have superficial knowledge of the Vedas, they propitiate other gods. But again, at the end, they say, do Krishnarpanam. Even they go to moksha, but it takes a lot of time. Then there are other people like Vedavadis and Haitukis, Parshana Haitukis. Basically, they don't understand the Vedas. They don't believe in the Vedas. So they engage in Shushka Tarka, things like that. They will not attain moksha. And the final conclusion is, the Hitopadesha of Gita is, karma, if it's done with a proper attitude, with proper understanding, with proper knowledge, it will give us the greater knowledge, and finally we can go to moksha. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಪ್ರಸಾದ್, ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸಿದ್ಧ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದು ನನ್ನ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನೀವೇನು ಈಗ PPT ಇದು ಮಾಡಿದಿರಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೆಲವರೆಲ್ಲ ನನ್ ಕಳಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಬಂಧಗಳನ್ನ, ಅದು ನನಗೆ PDF ಬದಲು ಒರಿಜಿನಲ್ ಅನ್ನೇ ಕಳಿಸ್ಬಿಡಿ. ನನಗೆ ಪೇಜ್ ಸೆಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಅನುಕೂಲ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಸಣ್ಣ ಪುಟ್ಟ ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತ ಶ್ಲೋಕದ ಕರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ನಾನೇ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು. ತುಂಬಾ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿದೆ ವಿಷಯ ಸಂಗ್ರಹಗಳು. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಮುಂದೆ ಶ್ರೀ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಮುತಾಲಿಕ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅವರು ತಮ್ಮ ಪ್ರಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಆರಂಭ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಇದರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಕೃಷ್ಣನಿಗೆ ಅಲಂಕಾರದ ಪೂಜೆಯನ್ನ ಮುಗಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಕಿರಿಯ ಪಟ್ಟದ ಪರಮ ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಶ್ರೀ ಶ್ರೀ ಸುಶ್ರೀಂದ್ರ ತೀರ್ಥ ಶ್ರೀಪಾದಂಗಳವರು ಬಹುಶಃ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು 10 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಸೇರಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವಂತಹ ಸಂಭವವೂ ಇದೆ. ಹಾಗೇನಾರಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನು ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀಗಳವರಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಎಲ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಗುರುಗಳಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಮಾಡಿ ಅವರ ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದವನ್ನ ಕೇಳೋಣ. ಈಗ ಪ್ರಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಶ್ರೀ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್ ಮುತಾಲಿಕ್ ಅವರು ಪ್ರಾರಂಭಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಸರ್, ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಚೂರು ಲೈಟ್ ಕಮ್ಮಿ ಅಂತ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ.
ಹಚ್ತೀನಿ, ಲೈಟ್ ಹಚ್ತೀನಿ. ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆನಾ?
ಸರಿ ಇದೆ. ಸರಿ ಇದೆ. ಸ್ಲೈಡಿಂಗ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬೇಕಾಗಲ್ಲ, ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫೇಸ್ ಬಂದಾಗ ಲೈಟ್ ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ.
ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆನಾ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಇನ್ನೂ ಬರ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಬಂತು, ಆಮೇಲೆ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಹೋಯ್ತು.
ಹಾ,
ಆಕ್ಚುಲಿ ವೆಂಕಟೇಶ್, ನಿಮ್ಮದೇ 2 ಇದೆ ಎಂಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಇದೆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಐ ಡೋಂಟ್ ನೋ ವೆದರ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಟೇಕ್ ಕೇರ್ ಆಫ್ ದಟ್.
Yeah, can you see my screen or no?
I can see, but there is 2 screens of you.
Oh, can you project my presentation?
Can you send your okay, one second, let me present yours.
There is something going on and suddenly
Okay, Venkatesh, I will try to project your screen. Okay, can you just don't stop sharing?
Yes, I stopped sharing.
Give me 1 second, okay?
But then the screen says we are presenting, Venkatesh.
Howda?
Yeah, it says Venk Mutalik is presenting. But then all we see is we, that's it. Okay, now it went away. So let Prakash do that for you, just like how you have to do it for me. So
Yeah, parasparam bhavayanತಹ ಇದೆ. ಅದು ಚಕ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬರಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಇದೆ ಭಗವಂತನ ಇಚ್ಛಾ.
ಈಗ ಸರಿ ಆಯ್ತು.
ಅದು ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್, ಜೀವಿ ಅವರ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ನಾನೇ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು, ನನ್ನ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಶನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾನೆ ಭಗವಂತ ಚಕ್ರ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ.
ಅದೇ.
ಸಾಷ್ಟಾಂಗ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಬಂತಾ?
ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆಯಾ? ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಝೂಮ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಆ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾತ್ರ ಝೂಮ್ ಮಾಡಿ.
ಓಕೆ, ಹೌದಾ? ಓಕೆ, ಒನ್ ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್.
ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್.
ಇದು ಬಂದು ಅವರದು,
ನಂದಿಲ್ಲ, ಇವರದ್ದು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಇವಾಗ ಬರ್ತೀಯಾ?
Now it is there.
Okay, 1 second, sir. Let me shut off my video.
Right, and then go to full screen if you can. Great. Now it is fantastic.
ಸಾಷ್ಟಾಂಗ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ. ದೇವಂ ನಾರಾಯಣಂ ನತ್ವಾ ಸರ್ವದೋಷ ವಿವರ್ಜಿತಂ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣಂ ಗುರುಂಶ್ಚಾನ್ ಗೀತಾರ್ಥಂ ವಕ್ಷ್ಯಾಮಿ ಲೇಷತಃ ಸಮಸ್ತ ಗುಣ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣಂ ಸರ್ವದೋಷ ವಿವರ್ಜಿತಂ ನಾರಾಯಣಂ ನಮಸ್ಕೃತ್ಯ ಗೀತಾ ತಾತ್ಪರ್ಯ ಮುಚ್ಯತೆ. With very humble namaskaras to Shri Sugunendra Tirtha Swamiji and Shri Sushrindra Tirtha Swamiji and my own gurus Shri Keshav Rao Tadipatri ji and Srimati Meera Tadipatri ji, and to Gopalacharya ji and Prasannacharya ji and all the Vishwa Hitaya Geeta Samelana attendees. I'm going to talk about only 2 shlokas. The shlokas that I first read 30 years back, and it gave me a lot of insight into the Gita, and for 30 years I've been thinking about them. Arjuna uvacha chanchalam hi manah krishna pramathi balavadhradam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. And then Shri Bhagavan uvacha, the reply from Bhagavan, which is asamshayam mahabaho mano durnigraham chalam abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. So if you go to the next slide, what I am showing here is a slide that has been personally blessed by Shri Swamiji, where I have laid the entire Gita, the 701 shlokas of the Gita. Wherever you see red, that is the question that Arjuna has been asking. And wherever you see blue, it is Sanjaya narrating. And wherever you see green, that is Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna, answering the questions. And wherever you see the taller green lines, those are in Trishtubh Chandas. And wherever you see in the regular lines, they are in Anushtubh Chandas. So 55 Trishtubh Chandas, primarily in the 11th Adhyaya, Vishwarupa Yoga, and a lot of other shlokas in Anushtubh Chandas together make the Gita. So when you go closer towards the end of the first Shatka, which is the 6th chapter, in the middle of the 6th chapter is where Arjuna is asking the question. He is asking the question, my mind is very restless. All minds are very restless. What can I do to tame my mind? And so if you go to the next slide, when you think about it, there are 800 crore humans on only one planet. all of the people have very restless mind. Everyone is asking the same question. What can I do to tame my mind? What can I do to get peace of mind? What can I do to get manashanti? And if we can get manashanti to a lot of people, that manashanti itself is Vishwahita. And so the Swamiji's chosen topic of Vishwa Hitaya Geeta, my claim is that Bhagavad Gita is the one that calms this combustible mix. Bhagavad Gita is the one that gives powerful techniques to tame your mind. Bhagavad Gita is the one that gives you the ability to concentrate your mind. And what should you use the concentration? You should use that concentration towards contemplating God. And so if you look at that world there, India, which has 17.8% of the world population, USA, which has about 4.5% of population, all of Europe, which has a pretty significant amount of population, parts of Middle East and Africa, all of these places, our Sri Swamiji has traveled. Indeed, because of Vishwa Hitaya Geeta, the Swamiji himself has conveyed the message of Gita across the whole entire world. And so he has provided Gita to countless minds and stabilized people. And so for that, we want to do namaskaras again and again to Swamiji. And one thing which you notice here is Koti Gita Lekhana Yajna, which is what Swamiji is proposing. 800 crores, out of which if 1 crore people get a peace of mind by writing the Gita, it's a Mahan achievement. It's a very big achievement. And so therefore, you can see the population is growing. The turbulence in the world is becoming worse. People are becoming restless. The Gita is there to provide a little bit of solace to everyone's mind. Manashanti is becoming more and more important. So if you go to the next slide. What is Gita? In many ways, Gita is the one grantha that provides very, very powerful strategy and techniques and gives examples of how you should be able to tame your mind. And so the context of these two shlokas is towards the end of the first shatka. Arjuna has already given his litany of comments. He has said all of the things that he wants to say. Krishna has heard him. And then Krishna has already explained Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Sannyasa Yoga, and then now he is teaching Atma Sanyama Yoga. Atma means Atma is Sharira, Atma means Manas, Atma means Jiva, and ultimately Atma means Paramatma. So the Atma Sanyama Yoga is Manashanti, Dhyana Yoga. Once you get Manashanti, Prashanta Buddhihi, then you can do Dhyana. And so Arjuna asks the question, Chanchalam Himana Krishna. Bhagavan answers, Asamshayam Mahabaho. And so therefore, Arjuna, who is himself a Uttamadhikari, Acharya says that Arjuna is a Uttamadhikari. And he is asking some question for clarity, but he's also asking for us. And Krishna is keeping him as a Nimitta Karana, and then he is explaining the answer. But the first answer that Krishna gives is very, very hopeful, isn't it? He says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Mano Durnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. Krishna didn't say you cannot control your mind. He said you can control your mind, but if you do the force of habit and the dispassion. And so we will unpack what Arjuna said, then we will unpack what Krishna said, and then we will combine them together. So if you go to the next slide, let us unpack Arjuna's question. Arjuna is a Uttamadhikari, Sakshat Indravatara. So his questions are always very, very interesting question. And this is my favorite question that asked me to pick up the Bhagavad Gita 30 years back, because I was thinking my mind is racing. Is there a place where I can go find how I can tame my mind when I was very, very young? And so I looked at the question, but I was not very happy with Krishna's answer 30 years back. But fast forward 30 years after hearing Swamiji's lectures, after listening to my Guru Keshav Rao, after discussing with my friends, I think I have a little bit of a better understanding, which I am going to explain in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So if you look at Arjuna's question, it's a very interesting question, isn't it? Because he's saying Chanchalam Hi. The word Hi means he has never understood the mind which is not Chanchala. A Sthira Manas, ಸ್ಥಿರ ಮನಸ್ಕನಾಗಿ ಇರುವುದೇ ಕಷ್ಟ. ಮನಸ್ಸು ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಚಂಚಲ, ಪರಮಚಂಚಲ ಮನಸ್ಸು. And so what he is saying is chanchalam hi manak Krishna. There is not a mind that I know which is not chanchala. It is ever moving, it is very restless, and it's very fickle. And then he is using the word Krishna because Arjuna always uses the words in his text. And so Krishna is sarva akarshana Krishna, karshayati Krishna, akarshana Krishna. He is thinking, why can't you just akarshana my mind? Krishna, you are all attractor. Why can't you akarsha? Why can't you just get my mind towards you? Why are you letting my mind roam around? Is probably what he's thinking in his mind. And then he's saying pramathi. Raghavendra Swamiji says pramathi is one that causes lot of kshobha to life and limb, to indriya and deha. The pramathi is a rebellious mind. The mind is not listening to myself. It is not taking my prabhutva. The mind is doing its own thing. And it's balavat. It is very strong. And it is very dridha. It is balavat because even if I reason with my mind, the power of reasoning is not helping me. And it is very dridha, meaning it is very unyielding. It doesn't bend, doesn't move. And therefore, to control it, nigraham, which is the word that Krishna himself used, grihyate, he used durnigraham, he uses Arjuna's words only later. And then he says, it is Vayoriva Sudushkaram. But the word Vayu comes to Arjuna because Krishna has himself seeded that word just before. Vetahadipo Nivatastaha, Vatastaha, Vayu. So, Yathadipaha Nivatastaha, Krishna has said in the 19th shloka. Fast forward to the 34th shloka, those meanings are all coming into Arjuna's mind. And so such a thinking in Arjuna. So what is really funny about this shloka is Arjuna is thinking. How does he think? With his mind only. With his mind only, he is thinking that his mind is not getting tamed. So in other words, the whole entire world, when you think about Uddhared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avsidayet Atmaivaihatmano Bandhu Atmaivaripuraatmanaha, in that case, what you will understand is the mind is itself a really good friend. Mind is a friend for the Atma, which is the Jiva. And mind is a friend which will attain Paramatma, which will get us to go towards Paramatma. And so the Lord has put all of these in those shlokas. And the other thing which I am thinking about as we go through this is Manassu, Paramachanchaala Manassu. Another Paramachanchaala Abhimani Devata is Lakshmi Devi herself. And so Paramachanchaala Manassu, Lakshmi Devi, who is so many people are Abhimani Tattvas for Manassu. Rudradevaru is there, Vayudevaru is Abhimani Devata, Lakshmi Devi herself. So if the Manas Tattva is Akarshaka by Krishna, and then like my friend Prakash was saying, in yoga, you are inserting Rudhi, Yogadalli Rudhi. It will be so much better, like getting Lakshmi Devi with Krishna. And that is what we are going to be discussing in the 12th chapter when we come to Avyakta Tattva and stuff like that. So there is a lot of things that are happening in Arjuna's question. So if you go to the next slide. Krishna, he gave an answer. And I read this answer first time 30 years back. It felt like a non-answer to me. He just basically says, Asamshayam Mahabaho Manodurnigraham Chalam Abhyasena tu Kaunteya Vairagyena cha Grihyate. It is by practice and by dispassion that you can control your mind. And I was like, what is this? Arjuna is asking such a very profound question. I am asking the same question. And you are giving me an answer that says, do some practice and do some Vairagya. But then 30 years later, I'm able to unpack Krishna's reply, Bhagavan's reply, a little bit better. The first thing Bhagavan says is, Asamshayam Mahabaho. Asamshayam. What you are saying is true. Why? Because Krishna is Sarvantaryami. He knows what our capability is. And he knows that for us, our capability is that mind is always chala. And so therefore, it is durnigraha. It is very difficult to control. And Arjuna and Krishna is pointing to Arjuna as an Uttamadhikari, saying, we know Arjuna's concentration when he was learning Dhanur Vidya. Dronacharya was asking, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? And then Arjuna was the only one who says, his mind is concentrated and he's seeing only the target. And then he leaves the arrow and then it hits the target. Brahma Tallingat, right? Your manas billinda Brahman hatra hogu. That is what the Upanishad says. And then Abhyasa. Abhyasa means the most difficult thing to control in the world is the mind. And for very small things to get studies, we do so much practice. And how can you expect that you are going to be able to control your mind without practicing for it, without getting into a habit of it? And it's not possible. And so therefore the Lord, he could have given a very long reply about how to control the mind. He didn't give it. He said, you need to practice controlling your mind. Practice, 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 practice makes perfect. And so I thought it was a very, very nice answer that the Lord said, instead of giving a very long-winded answer, abhyasa. And then he says, Kaunteya, because Kunti Devi herself wanted her mind to be very, very well exercised, isn't it? She asked Krishna, give me vipada kodtairu, and then my mind will be always towards you. So she wants that practice every day. Like a weightlifter goes in a gym and weights and lifts heavy weights, Kunti Devi wanted a heavy weight of difficulty so she can exercise, and her exercise is reaching God, reaching Krishna, understanding Krishna. And so therefore, what Krishna is saying is, if you have dispassion, and dispassion has been introduced as vairagyena, which is already explained as vigatabhihi, aparigraha, shucho deshe pratisthapya sthiram asanamatmanaha, like that. And then basically what he's saying is, if you are having virakti towards the Vishaya, then only you will get bhakti towards the Lord, which is what is the ultimate goal. After taming the mind, what are you going to do? You're not going to do some world destructive activity. You want to tame the mind and then put it towards God. And so basically Krishna is understanding very clearly for us. He's saying mind is a creature of habit. If you wake up and you make a habit of anything, like drinking coffee, then the mind will always crave for it. If you wake up and make a habit of doing Devara Puja, then the mind will automatically go there. Making a habit is how you control the mind. And that's what Krishna is telling it. And then Manas attaches itself very quickly. And so he's saying, practice dispassion. If you practice dispassion, your mind is pure. And Bhagavan is himself called Shuchishat. He likes to be in a clean place, Bhagavan. And so therefore he resides in the Shuchi, which is Vayudeva. And so therefore Bhagavanta, who is Shuchishat, will stay in your mind if your mind is clean and your mind is well practiced. So if you go to the next slide, I put this in a cartoon. You know, Manas has 5 tattvas, Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, Chetana. They're all going in different places. Manas, Idova, Adova, Buddhi, it is wanting to establish a command over it. Ahankara is coming in and introducing all kinds of awareness and abhimana, and Chitta, Chetana are memory shells. But when you do abhyasa and you do vairagya and yatha deepo nivatastaha, and then Bhagavan says, Shanai Shanairu Parame. Slowly and slowly you control the mind. You cannot control the mind completely all at once. And then finally he also says, Yato nischarati tatastata niyamaitat. Wherever the mind goes, if you get a negative thought, you need to immediately send 2 positive thoughts. If the mind is going in that direction, that is the direction that you need to go and pull it back. And so therefore, with these techniques, Bhagwan's point is that Manasu, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, Chetana, and your own Sharira, your own Manasu, the Jivatma, will ultimately have the Dhyana Yoga and the Paramabhagya of Epiphany. Epiphany meaning Aparoksha in your Manas, in the stage. And so that's what Bhagavan Krishna is saying. So if you go to the next slide. And basically, the Bhagavan's idea of attaining and getting closer towards God, there is so many shlokas that he has put in the 6th chapter itself, but basically it is threefold. Like all of the people have said, karma phala tyaga, kamana tyaga. Karma phala aswatantrena bhavati. Karma phala is always coming. You want to get rid of the kamana for the karma phala. You want to do your karma though, without leaving it, like karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala hetur bhuhu. And then you need to be able to understand Bhagavat Swatantriya Viveka all the time. And what does that mean? If you go to the next slide, and this is the final slide. How can we bring Gita in our own mind every day so we can understand it better? The first thing that I understand and we want to understand and we think we want to understand is Bhagavat Sankalpa, Bhagavat will, Lord's will is the only thing that controls the world. Bhagavat Sankalpa is based on our karma, our prayatna, but the Bhagavat Sankalpa When the Lord's will is controlling us, nobody else can control us. That's the first thing. Second thing is, Bhagavan himself says, Suhran mitrar yudasina madhyastadvesha bandhusyu sadhushwapi. So there are so many people who are friendly to us, who are enmity towards us, who will say good things to us, who will say bad things to us, but the Lord is making them say it according to how their karmas are working out. And so therefore, we need to let people do people. And then finally, we need to say, ourselves, we control very little. Aswatantra bhava for us, swatantra bhava for Bhagavan. And so if the aswatantra bhava we have, that we control lesser and lesser, I think we will be able to do our own work as worship. If we do our own work as worship and we study Gita under a guru, and one day I think we will have peace of mind, and then hopefully we will be able to use that peace of mind towards understanding God. If a lot of people do it, I think that is what is Vishwa Hitaya Geeta. The Bhagavad Gita and Swamiji's work will be very successful at that time. And so with that, I want to say namaskaras to all of the elders here, and then give the talk back to Gopalacharji.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಎಲ್ರದು ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಬ್ಬರು ಕೂಡ ಬಹಳ ಸುಂದರವಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಂಡನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರ ಹಿಂದೆ ಇರುವಂತಹ ಗುರುಗಳ ಪ್ರಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಮತ್ತು ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಶ್ರದ್ಧೆಯು ಕೂಡ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎದ್ದು ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಹಾರ್ದಿಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದವನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಆಸ್ಟ್ರೇಲಿಯಾದಿಂದ ಅಂಗ್ತಾನ್ ಇದ್ದಾರ? ಅಂಗ್ತಾನ್,
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ. ಸ್ವಾಗತಂ ಸ್ವಾಗತಂ ಭವತಃ ಕೃತೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತಂ. ಸರ್ವೇ ಶೃಣ್ವಂತು. ಏಷಃ ಮಹೋದಯಃ ಅಂಗ್ತಾನ್ ಮಹೋದಯಃ ಮೂಲತಃ ತತ್ರತ್ಯಃ ಏವ ಇಸ್ಕಾನ್ मध्ये ವೈಷ್ಣವ ದೀಕ್ಷಾಂ ಸ್ವೀಕೃತ್ಯ ಇದಾनीं ವಿಶೇಷೇಣ ಮಧ್ವಾಚಾರ್ಯಾಣಾಂ ಗ್ರಂಥस्य ಅಧ್ಯಯನೆ ನಿರತಾः वर्तन्ते. अनन्तरं मंगळूरु विश्वविद्यालये, श्रीनिवास विश्वविद्यालये विशेषतः रामायणस्य उपरि मध्वाचार्याणां योगदानम् इत्यस्मिन् विषये PhD कुर्वन् वर्तते. इदानीं महोदयं स्वागतं व्याहरामि. भवतः प्रबन्धं वाचयन्तु.
ನಿಮಿಷ ಗೋಪಾಲಾಚಾರ್ಯರೇ, ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ. ಈಶಾನ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಅವರಿಗಿಂತ ಮುಂದೆ ಇದಲ್ವಾ?
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಸಾರಿ, ಕ್ಷಮಿಸ್ಬೇಕು. ಹೌದು, ಈಶಾನ್ ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಇತ್ತು. महोदय, अंगतान महोदय, भवतः अनन्तरं वर्तते. इदानीं लिस्ट् मध्ये ईशान् महोदयस्य वर्तते. अतः सः इदानीं प्रबन्धस्य मण्डनं करोति.
नमस्कारः.
अनन्तरं भवान् वाचयतु. इदानीं ईशान् जोशी महोदयेन प्रबन्धमण्डनं. स्वागतं महोदय.
धन्यवादः. श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ओम्. वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं. व्यासाय भवनाशाय श्रीशाय गुणराशये हृद्याय शुद्धविद्याय मध्वाय च नमो नमः. अर्थिकल्पितकल्पोऽयं प्रत्यर्थिकचकेसरी व्यासतीर्थगुरुर्भूयात् अस्मदिष्टार्थसिद्धये. पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरताय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नमतां कामधेनवे. दुर्वादिध्वान्तरवये वैष्णवेन्दीवरेन्दवे श्रीराघवेन्द्रगुरवे नमोऽत्यन्तदयाळवे. श्रीकृष्णपूजार्पितचित्तवृत्तिं विरक्तचूडामणिमिन्दुशान्तम् अनन्तसद्भक्तप्रियं ममापि सुगुणेन्द्रतीर्थं परमाश्रितोऽहम्. I'll just share my screen. Can everyone see it? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. At the Vishwa Hitaya Geeta Samelana conference hosted by Shri Puttige Mutt and the Shri Vadiraja Research Foundation, I am grateful to share insights on Rajavidya Rajaguhya Yoga and discuss practical applications of the Gita. In a humble effort to discuss the divine principles of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, I faithfully prostrate in the divine presence of Sri Krishna and the Ubhaya Puttige Sri Padaru of Paryaya Krishna Matha, Sri 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 Sunendra Tirtha Swamiji, and Sri 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 Sushrirendra Tirtha Swamiji. In this brief monologue, I would like to talk about why we should offer, who we should offer to, and how we should offer. The first question that we come across while doing any satkarya or any action, any karma, is who should we offer anything to, the karma, any object that we want to offer. The Supreme, the Lord with infinite auspicious attributes, the Creator and the independent Paramatma, Sri Krishna, is the ideal God to offer all our karmas to because of his immense compassion. During any action, we may observe a mistake, knowingly or unknowingly. To get rid the karma of any defects, we have to offer everything to Sri Krishna, as Sri Krishna states in the 9th chapter. Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvachantim nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhaktah pranashyati. Even if anyone has committed a sinful activity previously, he is considered pious according to Krishna as long as he is his devotee and offers everything to him. Another reason why we should offer everything to Sri Krishna at the conclusion of a karma is because if we don't offer the karma to Krishna, we get the ahankara, the ego in us. To get rid of that ego, we have to offer everything to Sri Krishna. What should we offer to Sri Krishna? We as individuals do not own anything in this world, as once our time comes to a close, we cannot claim ownership of any material objects. Along with this, Sri Krishna says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati tadaham bhaktyupahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. Krishna's message is clear as it states, perform all actions toward him with devotion. In numerous places, such as Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Bhagavata, Paramatma is seen to be in search of pure devotion. The Lord is seen accepting pleasure, even ordinary substances such as tulasi in the case of Draupadi, or a flower in the case of Gajendra, or a fruit in the case of Shabari. In hindsight of all of this, Krishna makes his point very clear that all our actions must be done with full faith and devotion toward him. How should we offer it to him? Through unbreakable and pure bhakti, devotion to the Lord. In the 11th chapter, Sri Krishna says, Naham vedairna tapasa nadanena nachejyaya shakya evam vidho drashtum drashtavanasi mam yatha. He says that neither by extensive studies of the Vedas, neither by charity, sacrificial rites, nor difficult penance will one be able to understand the Supreme. It is only possible to understand the Supreme through bhakti, as he states in the next verse. Bhaktya tvananyaya shakyaha ahamevam vidhorjuna nyatum drashtum cha tatvena praveshtum cha parantapa. If one is truly passionate about understanding the absolute truth of the Paramatma, they must have full attachment to only the Supreme and let all other material desires go and through unbreakable devotion reach him. Bhakti, as Sri Krishna states, is the sole path to attain moksha through steadfast devotion and surrender to the Supreme, a quality that is inherent in every devotee. There are many types of bhaktis that one may employ or one may choose to go through. One is the conditional, Rajasic and Tamasic type of bhakti. Rajasic minds know the Lord as just a credit card, as it's usually just negotiated through a promise, such as I'll offer you 100 coconuts and you give me a good grade on my final exam. Though this is one of the many ways to connect with the Lord, they only create temporary happiness. To ensure true and complete happiness, one should be willing to give up all material desires, focus his mind on the Supreme, and go through with achieving bhakti and the right type of bhakti. The unconditional sattvika bhakti, sincere devotion and complete surrender to the Lord, a genuine and authentic connection between the devotee and the Supreme, guarantees infinite happiness and guarantees a path to moksha. Bhakti toward the Paramatma guarantees several benefits in the material world and in the upcoming lives. If the Lord is contemplated through pure love and devotion, the devotee has nothing to worry about. As Krishna states in the 9th chapter, Ananyashchintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. The devotee who worships or contemplates on the Paramatma constantly has no need to worry about any aspect of samsara. Sri Krishna assures that his bhaktas that yogakshemam vahamyaham, that he will personally take care of their well-being in both the material and spiritual worlds. Krishna stresses to Arjuna that he is easily attainable and pleased by all actions that his devotees do with faith. This sets up a roadmap for all of us. If we are falling into the Rajasic category, we have to step out and do the things that Sri Krishna has told us to do in the 9th chapter. Unlike Rajasic and Tamasic, Rajasic and Sattvic modes, this is also Tamasic. Tamasic people think that Krishna is dependent on us, possesses a similar body to us, and that is ultimately false. As Krishna says, Moghasha moghakarmanaha moghajnana vichetasaha rakshasima surim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. He addresses these people as naradhamaha, never to understand the truth nor reach him through moksha. How do we worship Sri Krishna? By what Sri Krishna articulates in chapter 9 and what Arjuna recounts in chapter 11, it becomes apparent that Sri Krishna is indeed the Supreme Being encompassing the entirety of all existence. His essence can be understood through his infinite names, through the Vishnu Sahasranama, limitless divine qualities, and the reverence he receives in sacred scriptures. Sri Krishna states, to make bhakti possible, one must understand the supremacy of the Lord over all beings. In the 9th chapter, Sri Krishna says, Pitahamasya jagataha mata dhata pitamaha vedyam pavitram onkaraha riksamaya jurevacha. Sri Krishna states that he is Om and encompasses the essence of all the Vedas. After all, the Vedas describe his excellence and greatness over all life forms. When one gains this understanding, the experience between the devotee and the Supreme is surreal. Through this awareness, one is able to offer everything to the Supreme. Benefits of worshipping. The Srimad Bhagavad Gita, bestowed by Sri Krishna as divine wisdom upon humanity, stands as a gem in the vastness of universal history. Its straightforward yet deeply meaningful teachings offer comfort to those navigating the cycle of samsara. To escape the chaotic cycle of samsara, Sri Krishna shares this divine message and invites one and all to embark on a path to his abode. When we surrender completely and when we think about the Paramatma constantly, we have nothing to worry about. As he assures in the 18th chapter, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyaha moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. In the shloka, he says that he will rid us of any wrongdoings and guide us to the path to moksha. I would like to thank Sri Swamiji for establishing and allocating numerous institutions worldwide and opening a door for millions of sadhakas. The branches that he has established all over the world conduct cultural festivities, that too with an unparalleled grandeur. Functions and events such as Trikala Puja, Annadana, Aradhana Mahotsavas, and many more revive the richness in our traditions. Swamiji has also, in his best efforts and high standards, advocated for Gita Dhyana every day for 5 sessions, Sri Vishnu Sahasranama classes that emphasize strong focus on pronunciation and proficiency. In addition to this, to these culturally enticing activities, Swamiji has allowed for Veda Dhyana, daily pravachanas, jignasa satras, for those seeking a direct connection with the Supreme. As one can see, these activities are nothing short of an esteemed position. Despite the mountainous tasks that Swamiji accomplishes, he offers everything to the Supreme and follows Sri Krishna's important message, Tat Kurushvamadarpanam. ಶ್ರೀ ಸುಗುಣೇಂದ್ರ ತೀರ್ಥ ಗುರುವಂತರ್ಗತ ಮುಖ್ಯ ಪ್ರಾಣಾಂತರ್ಗತ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ಅರ್ಪಣಮಸ್ತು.
ಈಶಾನ್ ಬಹಳ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿತ್ತು, ತುಂಬಾ ಅದ್ಭುತ. ತುಂಬಾ ಯುವಕರಿಗಂತೂ ತುಂಬಾ ಸ್ಫೂರ್ತಿ ಕೊಡುವಂತಹದ್ದು, ಆದರ್ಶಮಯವಾದ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿತ್ವ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ನನಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಇಷ್ಟವಾಗಿದ್ದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ 2 ಅಂಶಗಳು. ಒಂದು ಗುರುನಿಷ್ಠೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಎರಡನೇದ್ದು ಸೈದ್ಧಾಂತಿಕ ನಿಷ್ಠೆ. ಇದೆರಡು ತುಂಬಾ ಪ್ರಬಂಧದಲ್ಲಿ ಎದ್ದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇತ್ತು. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯುವಕರಿಗೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಆದರ್ಶಮಯವಾಗಿತ್ತು ಪ್ರಬಂಧ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ಇದನ್ನ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸಿದ್ಧ ಮಾಡಿದೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ? ಅಷ್ಟು ಕೂಡ
ಹೌದು.
ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು ಈಶಾನ್ ಜೋಶಿ. ಇದಾನಿಂ ಪ್ರಬಂಧ ಮಂಡನಂ ಕರೋತಿ ಆಸ್ಟ್ರೇಲಿಯಾತಃ ಅಂಗಥಾನ್ ಮಹೋದಯ ವಸ್ತುತಃ ತತ್ರತ್ಯಃ एव इदानीं मंगळूरु श्रीनिवास विश्वविद्यालये शोधकार्यं कुर्वन् वर्तते. इदानीं साक्षात् आस्ट्रेलियातः अंगथान् प्रबन्धमण्डनं करोति. 10 निमेषं भवतः कृते वर्तते. संक्षिप्तेन प्रबन्धमण्डनं करोतु. स्वागतम्.
नमस्कार. Okay. नमस्कारम. सर्वेभ्यो कृष्ण भक्तेभ्यो नमो नमः. गोकोतिदानं ग्रहणेषु काशी माघ प्रयागे कुतिकल्पवासे सुमेरुतुल्यं हिरण्यदानं नहि तुल्यं श्री गोविंद नाम श्री गोविंद नाम श्री गोविंद नाम. So I'm fortunate enough to be a part of this conference, Bhagavad Gita Samelana. So I I thank to all the organizers, and the Swamiji and Dr. Sri Gopalacharya for giving me this a little opportunity. So here I'm trying to speak on the Bhagavad Gita Vasha of Srimad Acharya. So I won't be going too much in detail, just a touch base, practically the introduction part of it. So I hope that you will enjoy things. So even in the introduction itself of Sri Madhvacharya, he starts with this particular sloka. Devam Narayanam Natva Sarvadosa Vivarjitam Paripurnam Gurunscha Gitartham Bhakshami Lesata. So this particular verse, Srila Madhvacharya has presented in his Gita Vasha, right at the beginning. So this particular verse is really significant, that it shows that the Sri Madhvacharya, by example, that one should give our respect to the elders, teachers, the Supreme Lord, just before the start of any activities that we do, whether it is material or spiritual. So this is a particular one example that we can learn from the Gita Vasha of Sri Madhvacharya. So it is the mentioned in the what is called Sri Madhva by Sri Narayan Pandit, that the Sri Madhvacharya has traveled along the way to Himalaya in the Vadarik ashram to Sri Vyasadeva. With very difficulty, after reaching at the Vadarik ashram, Sriman Madhvacharya has offered his Gita Vasha at the lotus feet of Sri Badrinath. Say that Mandayan Bharata Kanda Mandam Nadirayana Padotra Paroyam Tannamanna Prajuradhiri Hari Gita Vasha Arpaya Dupaya Namasmai. So this is a particular verse in Sri Madhva that we can find, Madhva 6.38, where Sri Acharya offered his Gita Vasha at the lotus feet of Sriman Narayan. So the next step, we can see that why do we need to study this? So what is our aim for studying this? Because this is a very important Gita Vasha by Sri Madhvacharya, where he wanted to present the right path to everyone so that they can walk through. He has been so compassionate toward all the living beings. So this is what we're trying to bring it, that the Sri Madhvacharya, how he was a scholarly, qualified to compose such, and in the present to all the human beings. So we all know that Sri Madhvacharya appeared in Udupi, which is practically not right exactly, or in Udupi, it's nearby Udupi. And we can also find these all details in the Madhya Vijaya, and plus in the Mahabharata Tapara Nirnaya itself, Sri Acharya has given a roundup calculation of his birth. So the Chatu Sahasre Ti Shatuttare Gate Samvatsaranam Kalo Pratibhyam Jata Punar Viptanu Subhimo Dittar Niguram Haritattamaha, that we can find in the Mahabharata Tatpara Nirnaya. That is Sri Acharya was speaking about his birth. And then we can find the disappearance of Srimad Acharya as well. So Sri Acharya has lived about 79 years in this world. Then he just disappeared from the vision of the ordinary human beings. So he just left the Bhadarika Ashram. That it is been said that Sri Madhvacharya may have disappeared from the eyes of human being, but he is still visible. We can see him in Bhadarika Ashram. So this we can find at the Ananteshwar temple in Udupi, that is Adrishyo Rupyapitisti Drishtatu Badaritate. That is clearly is written right in front of Sri Madhvacharya's meditation room. Now, when we come to the history of Bhagavad Gita, sometimes there are so many scholars today, they said that now it is only 3,000 before Christ is old, or say around about 5,000 years old or something. But in Bhagavad Gita itself has given the history of Bhagavad Gita. So in the chapter 4, right at the beginning, the first shloka, that the Supreme Lord says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Praktavahanam Abhyam Vivaswan Manavepra Manorikyaka Vibravit. So the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, my dear Arjuna, that I spoke this imperishable science of yoga to Sun God. So this Bhagavad Gita, so Krishna spoke to Sun God, then the Sun God, the Suryadev, to Vivaswan, then from Vivaswan to King Manu, who is the father of the mankind, then Manu to Ishwaku. So it has been going on for so many years. So it is beyond 5,000 years old, it's millions of years. Then the history, even the Mahabharata itself has given some details that said Treta Yuga Docha Tato Vashwan Manave Manustalaka Buttartham Sutaye Kyakupe Dado Ikyakuna Chakatito Byapya Lokana Stita Kamishati Kyantecha Punar Narayanam Nripa. So it is in the Mahabharata, we can find Mahabharata 12.35, 358, and 51 to 52. That so at the beginning of the millennium of Treta Yuga, so the Gita was spoken by the Supreme Lord. Right? So this is a supporting verse of the Mahabharata itself, of the Bhagavad Gita, what Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said in the chapter 1, verse 1. So this is the actual history of a Bhagavad Gita. So when they round up calculation, it has been the 120,000 millions of years that have been spoken. It is only the rough calculation of the years according to our years. So this is a proper history that we can find. So the classification of the Bhagavad Gita in the scriptures. So Sri Madhvacharya has given this, he classifies the Bhagavad Gita. What is Bhagavad Gita? How the Bhagavad Gita has come? Where the Bhagavad Gita has been located? Where can we find it? So it is all given in his Gita Vasha by Sri Madhvacharya. So at the beginning, so Sri Madhvacharya expressed that Nasta Dharma Jnanam Loka Kripalubhi Brahma Rudrindradi Titho Jnana Pradarsanaya Bhagavan Vyaso Avatara. So it is saying that when the Supreme Lord, after noticing the principles and the wisdom in the people, the prayers, so you saw that it is all the people are starting to lose their knowledge, their what is called daily duties and stuff. So it has been noticed. Not only that, also by the prayers made by Brahmaji or Shiva, Indra, and the other demigods. And the Lord wanted to teach the righteous duty, which gives the proper knowledge that which is deserved by the proper souls. So that we can see the Supreme Lord. He's very kripalu, very compassionate, right? To give this, he appeared in the form of a Vyasadeva. So Supreme Lord himself appears as Sri Vyasa. So the Vyasa is the Supreme Lord himself. It is very clearly mentioned here by Sri Madhvacharya. Then there's and the further to the Bhagavad Gita and the importance of Mahabharata, Sri Madhvacharya has quoted a verse from the Skanda Puran. It says that Bharatam chapi kritavan panchamam vedam uttamam rasavarartham sarvatra kevalam vishnu bodhakam parokhyartham tu sarvatra vedadapyuttamam tu yad. It is come there. So it is in the Skanda Puran that the Supreme Lord has composed Mahabharata and been declared as it is the fifth of the best of the Veda. It has got the tenfold meaning, which glorifies the Supreme Lord Vishnu as the prime theme. So that is the reason it is superior to even the Vedas, and they're comprehensible to all. So it is the saying of the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Madhvacharya has quoted to classify the Mahabharata, where we can find the Bhagavad Gita. Then in the later part of the chapter 9, then see the very important thing that the Sri Madhvacharya has given, how one can transform from the content to the sweetheart. Sometimes we are so fall into all the delusion, the ignorance and stuff, that how can we get out? So Madhvacharya has given his version on this particular shloka, Bhagavad Gita 9.12. It says, Mogasa, Moga Karmano, Moga Jnana Vichetasaha, Rakshasim Asurim Cheva, Prakritim Mohinim Sritaha. So here the Acharya refers as a Moksha Dharma, it's a Shanti Parva section of Mahabharata. He said that Karmana Manasavacha Yo Dvisha Vishnum Abjayam Majjanti Pitatara Swashan Narake Saswati Sama Yo Dishad Vibuddha Sreshtam Devam Narayanam Harim Katansanat Bhavidvisha Alokantasya Atmalokasya Kaschachit. So it is from Sri Mahabharata that the Sri Madhvacharya has given a beautiful quote. So what he was saying that one should not be deluded. So those who are content towards the Supreme Lord Narayan, either by action or by mind or by words, so they would actually sink into the hell for the forever. So that is why Acharya was trying to bring that. So we should be very sensible. But then the later part in this, Acharya has explained that the Lord has a very equal compassion towards everyone, regardless of position or situation they are situated. So the Lord has assured. So in the Bhagavad Gita 3.1, I would just try to conclude this part here, that what the Madhvacharya is trying to bring. Then he quoted in the conclusion that he has quoted another one from the Kurma Puran, that the Bharatam Sarvasastresu Bharate Gitika Vara. The Vishnu Shastranamapi Geyam Pathyeja Tadvayam Timhakurme Sahid Dharma Sabarjapto Brahmana Pravedane Taricha. So here Srimad Madhvacharya has quoted a beautiful verse from the Kurma Puran. It is saying that among all the scriptures,
Angtan Modaya Upasamaram Karoto.
Yeah, sorry.
Upasamaram Karoto.
It is a conclusion there, Upasamaram.
Yes.
So here is the Srimad Madhvacharya is saying that among the Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita is the best. So that's why one should study Bhagavad Gita and the Vishnu Sahasranam together, so that one will become elevated to the platform of the spiritual consciousness. Thank you so much. Shri Krishna Pranamast.
Dhanyavada Angtan Mohodaya. Idanim Bhavata Sakam Australia Pradeshe Madhvacharyanam Prasara Karyakramaha Bhavet. Tatra अस्माकं गणे अध्यक्षस्थाने विराजन्ते केशव ताडिपत्री महोदयाः तेषां सम्पर्के भवतु तेषां मार्गदर्शने अनन्तरम् अहमपि भवता साकं भवामि परमपूज्य श्रीपादानां आशीर्वाद बलेन भवान् ऑस्ट्रेलिया प्रदेशे विशेषेण मध्वाचार्याणां ग्रन्थानां प्रसार कार्यक्रमः अनन्तरं तत्र प्रचार कार्यक्रमे निरता भवतु इति उक्त्वा धन्यवादं समर्पयामि। इदानीम् अध्यक्ष महोदय केशव ताडिपत्री महोदयः ते प्रबन्ध मंडन द्वारा तेषां भाषणं कुर्वन्ति। क्षम्यतां ताडिपत्री महोदय मध्ये कदाचित् इदानीं परमपूज्य सुश्रीन्द्र तीर्थ श्रीपादाः जॉइन भवन्ति। झटिति अहं रिक्वेस्ट करिष्यामि मध्ये किंचित् स्वामीपादानाम् अनुग्रहं श्रुत्वा पुनः अग्रे गच्छामः इति। भवतु भवता कृते स्वागतं व्याहरामि। कृपया प्रबन्ध वाचनं कृत्वा सर्वान् अपि अनुग्रहं कुर्वन्तु।
धन्यवादः।
हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। अभ्रमं भंगरहितम् अजडं विमलं सदा आनन्दतीर्थमतलं भजे तापत्रयापहम् मिथ्या सिद्धांत दुध्वांत विध्वंसण विचक्षणः जयतीर्थाकृतनिर्भासिताम्नो हुदंबरे अर्थिकल्पितकल्पोऽयं प्रत्यत्यगतकेसरी व्यासतीर्थ गुरुर्भूयात् अस्मदिष्टार्थ सिद्धये तपोविद्याविरक्त्यादि सद्गुणौगाकरानहं वादिराजगुरून् वन्दे हयग्रीपदाश्रयान्। पूज्याय राघवेन्द्राय सत्यधर्मरताय च भजतां कल्पवृक्षाय नमतां कामधेनवे दुर्वादिध्वान्तरवये वैष्णवेन्दीवरेन्दवे श्रीराघवेन्द्र गुरुवे नमो अचिन्दयाळवे। आपादमौलिपर्यन्तं गुरूणामाप्तिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नाः प्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धिं मनोरथाः। हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। श्री सुगुणेन्द्रतीर्थ स्वामिनः तथा श्री सुश्रीन्द्रतीर्थ स्वामिनः चरणकमलौ सादरभावेन साष्टाङ्गदण्डप्रणामान् समर्प्य अद्यतन शीर्षकस्य विश्वहिताय गीता इत्यस्य विषये किञ्चित् प्रवक्तुं प्रयत्नं करोमि। अस्य अवकाशदायिभ्यः श्री प्रसन्नाचार्य श्री गोपालाचार्य प्रमुख आयोजक समिति सदस्येभ्यः मम कृतज्ञतापूर्वक अभिवन्दनानि। अन्य सर्वेभ्यः कृष्णभक्तेभ्यः अभिवन्दनानि अभिनन्दनानि च। अत्र प्रथमतः अध्यक्षरूपेण भाषणानि कथं सन्ति इति कथित्वा अनन्तरं मम विषये प्रवेशं करोमि। तत्र सर्वेपि, so all that I'll do in English because I'm going to talk about how this went briefly, everything. And Meera Taripatri, she has talked about the importance of Guru Shishya Bhava and how Gita is emphasized. Everybody gave a very nice presentation. And G.V. Srinivasan, he emphasized on how and why Gita emerged. Though we cannot really see what is behind God's mind, we see the effect of that. That's the gift of Gita to the world. And then Vivek Srivastava, he took up the litmus test sloka, 2nd Adhyaya, 16th sloka, and he did the analysis of Sat and Asat and how and why many commentators missed the true spirit of it and how Madhvacharya really grasped it. And then Venkatesh Sheshuprakash, he talked about how the complex karma swarupa is to be approached in Gita. And then Venkatesh Mutalik, he talked about how to control the mind by abhyasa or practice. And I would like to mention that the key for the abhyasa practice is in the word vairagya. And its meaning is stressed in Sankshipta Shastrartha Prakarana of Gita Sarodhara. All that we need in life are only two things: attachment to God only and detachment to everything else. Both are indicated by that word viraga, vihitaraga in God and vigataraga in others. So it's as simple as that. So that's how the practice is done. And the Ishan, young boy, youth, he talked very nicely about the offering to God, how, why, and what is to be offered, and how is stressed by the Navavida Bhakti. And then Aung Than, he talked about Madhvacharya as written two commentaries, Bhashya and Tatparya. So he tried to look at the historical analysis of Acharya's appearance as well as history of knowledge in Gita, and how Krishna mentioned that the knowledge is periodically spread out by the Lord only. The key is Krishna told to Surya, who told to Manu, and who told to Ikshvaku. And in all these paramparas, the key is that in each of these paramparas, the Antaryami Rupena, Paramatma is the one who makes the whole knowledge come out. So whenever Dharma Jnana Lopa happens, Lord Vedavyasa appeared, same way Paramatma does that. So everybody did a wonderful job. And with that, I will continue in Samskrita what I wanted to convey. Vishwa Hitaya Bhagavad iti vachanasya bhavaha ittam bhavati. Tadgata sandeshat loka kalyanam bhavati. Sarve janaha sukhino bhavanti ityadi abhiprayah. Anvaya vyatireka asya pratipadanam atra kriyate adhuna kinchinmatram samaya sima niyamam avadharya. Vyatireka nama यदि गीता विश्वहिताय न वर्तते इति गीतां प्रति विरोधवचनानि वा विरोधात्मक आक्षेपरूप प्रश्नाः वा क्रियन्ते केनापि वा तर्हि तेषां सर्वेषां प्रति उत्तराणि दीयन्ते. अन्वय नाम गीतायाम् एव अहितवचनानाम् अभावः हितवचनानां प्रकर्षश्च प्रदर्श्यते. तदर्थं प्रथमतः केचित् आक्षेपवचनानि विचारणीयानि. प्रथम आक्षेप प्रश्नः महाभारत युद्धमूल लक्षादिजन संहार कारक भगवद्गीता कथं शांति संदेशदायिनी भवितुं शक्यते, कथम एतद् अहिंसा मूलम्. द्वितीय आक्षेप रूप प्रश्नः तस्मात् अर्थात् गीतोपदेश मूल युद्धात् पांडवानाम् एव राज्यलाभो अभवत्, भीष्मद्रोणादि सज्जनानामपि वधो अभवत्, कथम एतत् सर्वमंगलप्रदः इति कथितुं शक्यते. तृतीय आक्षेप रूप प्रश्नः यदि गीता धर्मयुद्धमूलमिति कोऽपि वदति चेत् तर्हि अपि बहुविध अधर्मरूपेण एव युद्धसमये घटिताः बहूनां भीष्मद्रोणकर्णादीनां संहारविषयाः. तादृशधर्मलोपस्य का गतिः? प्रथमाक्षेपस्य उत्तरम्. कार्यस्य सिद्धिर्गणे दीर्घदृष्टिः कुर्यात्. यदि अल्पहिंसया महत्तरहिंसायाः परिहारो भवति चेत् सा एव समीचीनरूपा, सत्यरूपा तथा समुचितरूपा अहिंसा इति ज्ञेया। लक्षादिजनसंहार सद्भावे अपि दुर्योधनादि दुष्टजन परंपरा निरोधेन अनेक साधुजन उद्धारः समभवत् इति ज्ञेयम्। तस्मात् भगवद्गीता बोधनम् अहिंसा मूलमेव। द्वितीयाक्षेपस्य उत्तरम् अस्तु एव, पाण्डवानाम् एव राज्यलाभः तथा कौरवाणां विनाशः। तेभ्यां पाण्डवराज्यलाभ कौरवविनाशेभ्यां सज्जनानां महदुपकारः एव अभवत्। न केवलं नारायणद्विषां निग्रहो कार्यः, किन्तु तद् अनुबन्धीनामपि निग्रहो कार्यः। सर्वमङ्गलप्रदो नाम सर्वसज्जनमङ्गलप्रदः इति। भीष्मद्रोणादयः अपि नारायणद्विषां दुर्योधनादीनां पक्षे एव धर्मपक्षविरोधरूप युद्धं कृतवन्तः। तस्मात् तेषां वध आवश्यको अभवत्। तृतीयाक्षेपस्य उत्तरं भीष्मद्रोणादयः अपि नारायणद्विषां दुर्योधनादीनां प्रभावेन तद् अनुबन्धितया द्रौपदी वस्त्रापहरणार्थं यतमानान् दुर्योधनादि दुष्टजनान् निवारयितुं प्रयत्नोऽपि न कृतवन्तः। कर्णस्तु दुर्योधनस्य दुष्टयोजनेषु न केवलं भागम् अवहत्, किन्तु प्रोत्साहमपि दत्तवान्। तदेव बृहद्धर्मलोपः। तस्मात् ते कर्मफलभोगरूपशिक्षां स्वीकर्तुं विवशाः अभवन्। भगवान् धर्मस्वरूपः कदापि धर्मलोपं न करोति। अथ कोऽपि कदापि केनापि हेतुना गीताविरोधं करोति चेत् तेषां सर्वेषां परिष्कारात्मक परामर्शेन परिहारो प्रदीयते इति व्यतिरेकव्याप्ति अनन्तरं स्थालीपुलाकन्यायेन तद्गत द्वे त्रीणि विषयवाक्यानि पश्यामः अन्वयव्याप्ति अर्थम्। स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु इत्यादि स्वस्ति वचन भरित वेदोपनिषदां सारभूता तथा साधनीभूता गीता विश्वहित रूप शान्तिं विधत्ते विना संदेहः। भगवद्गीतायां कुत्रापि समाजहानिकारक संदेशः नास्ति एव। सर्वत्र आत्मोद्धार सहायक संदेशः एव वर्तते। तथा च समाज संक्षेम शांति साधक संदेशः संविद्यते। भगवान् प्रोवाच परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे इत्यादि धर्म प्रचार वचनानि। गीतोपदेशकः श्रीकृष्णः धर्मोपदेशं कृतवान्। धर्मो रक्षति रक्षितः इति बहु वाक्यमस्ति। यो धर्ममार्गे निष्ठां करोति चरति च भगवान् तस्य रक्षा करोति एव। गीतायाः अध्ययनेन पारायणादिना मनःशान्तिं साधितवन्तः बहवः। अथ अनुभवसिद्धः गीता विश्वमङ्गलं तनोति सर्वदा। मा अस्तु अत्र लेशोऽपि संशयः। तथा च गीतायाम् अभयं सत्त्वसंशुद्धिर्ज्ञानयोगव्यवस्थितिः दानं दमश्च यज्ञश्च स्वाध्यायस्तप आज्यवम् इत्यादि दैव सम्पत् प्रशंसनेन सज्जनेषु तेषां प्रति अभिरुचिः जायते। तथा दम्भो दर्पो अभिमानादि आसुरी सम्पन्निन्दया सज्जनेषु तेषां प्रति वैमुख्यं जायते। वैमुख्यं नाम विमुखता, अनभिरुचिः जायते एव। निराधार निराकरण निरताः निबोधन्तु निरन्तरं गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मादृष्ट सर्वेपि श्रुतवन्तः। सुगीता नाम किं? शोभनार्थे सुप्रत्ययः इति सिद्धः प्रसिद्धश्च। सुगीता शोभना गीता कर्मधारय समासः, विशेषण पूर्वपद कर्मधारय समासः। अपि च सुशब्देन सूत्रनामक वायुः उद्दिष्टः। वायुना वायोरवतार रूप मध्वेन भाष्यतात्पर्येभ्यः व्याख्याता गीता सुगीता। सुवायुना व्याख्याता गीता सुगीता। मध्यमपदलोपि समास। व्याख्याता गीता सुना वायना व्याख्याता गीता तथा च श्री सुगुणेन्द्रतीर्थ स्वामिना यज्ञरूपेण कोटिगीता लेखन यज्ञरूपेण वा यावत् पर्याय पर्यन्त नित्य गीता पारायण यज्ञरूपेण वा पाठ प्रवचनात्मक ज्ञान यज्ञरूपेण वा विश्वगीता सम्मेलनादि यज्ञरूपेण वा विश्वविद्यालयेषु उपाधिपत्र प्रणाली प्रवेशनादि गीता प्रचार रूप यज्ञेन वा अर्चिता गीता सुना अर्चिता गीता सु श्री सुगुणेन्द्र तीर्थ स्वामिना अर्चिता गीता सुगीता इदमपि मध्यमपदलोप समासः अथ इत्थं विश्वहिताय गीता अर्चनीया आचरणीया अर्चनीय अर्थात टू बी वर्शिप्ड आचरणीय टू बी प्रैक्टिस्ड अध्ययनीय टू बी स्टडीड आंतरिकम अवधारणीय टू बी इंटरनलाइज्ड आजीवनम आदर भावेन अनुसरणीय एंटायर लाइफ टू बी इंप्लीमेंटेड विथ डिवोशन एंड डेडिकेशन अर्थानुसंधान पूर्वक सार्थक जीवन यात्रा कर्तव्य must conduct the life journey fruitfully with correct understanding that the world is real, Vishwam Satyam, and the fivefold difference, Panchabheda, including every jiva, eternally different and dependent on Paramatma. And so there is neither identity of jiva and Paramatma nor merger of jiva into Paramatma. इति महतामुपदेशः सत्यं जगत् पंचभेदः सर्वजीवाः परमात्मनः नित्य भिन्नाः एव सत्यभेदः एव न तु मिथ्याभेदः न जीव परमात्मनोः ऐक्यं न च परमात्मनि जीवस्य समैक्यं जीवस्य अस्तित्वलोप कथनं कथं कांक्षणीयः कोऽपि न कांक्षति so the destruction of jiva itself nobody wants. So this is how iti mahatam upadeshaha swasti Sri Krishnarpanamastu. Hare Srinivasa. I think the session is completed. Anybody has any concerns or questions or any thing is needed, you can say it. Otherwise, I'll hand over the session and we have concluded the session.
Looks like we briefly lost Sri Gopalacharya. Looks like he's joining again.
Yeah, I think he left and he is joining back. Yeah. So I think I saw the message he's joining.
He was online just 1 second back.
Oh, okay. Oh,
should we stay or should we conclude this session?
I think I just don't want to.
Because he was bringing the junior Swamiji, so he said.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, so maybe we'll just wait so that we can get the blessings of Swamiji.
Right.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಗುರುಗಳು. ಅಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೆ ಒಂದೇ ಕ್ಲಾರಿಫಿಕೇಶನ್ ಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು.
I'm really thankful to all of you. I think you all did a wonderful job. Really appreciate that. And the time restriction is definitely very hard because you have certain things in the mind and you want to bring it to a right conclusion, and rushing at the end makes that even more difficult. So everybody did a wonderful job, in spite of the pressure of time. Everybody did a great job.
Namaskar.
Thanks to all your training.
Yeah, thanks for the training, basically.
ಬಹುಶಃ ಶ್ರೀಗಳವರು ಪಾಠದ ಒತ್ತಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ ಇದೆ, ನೇರವಾಗಿ ಸಿಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಶ್ರೀಗಳವರು. ಇನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಸರಿ ನಾನು ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಸರಿ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದು ಕೆಲವೊಮ್ಮೆ ಅವರು ಇರೋ ಜಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಟ್ ಸಿಗಲ್ಲ, ಅದೇ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದೇ ನಿಮಿಷ.
ಆಯ್ತು.
Actually, just wanted to mention that we are very fortunate that on this Parvakala of Vyasaraj, we were able to, present our thoughts, even though it is, at least for my side, even though it is very little and very meager, with your training and with your grace, we were able to do something during this Parvakala. Just wanted to share that thought.
Yeah.
So we celebrated the Aradhana also in a fitting way.
Yeah.
For me, I still remember the day I said, Arjuna's question is so nice, but Krishna is just giving a random answer. And then Keshava was telling me, yeah, because translating the question is very easy because people can translate the question. The answer is very difficult to translate.
Yes.
And that is what took 20-30 years to kind of get around to understanding the answer.
ಪರಮ ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಶ್ರೀಪಾದರು ಈಗ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಲಿಂಕ್ ಬೇರೆ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. 1 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಸತ್ರದ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆಯನ್ನ ಅವ್ರ ಮೂಲಕ ನಾವು ಮಾಡುವಂತಹದ್ದು. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವರ ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಸಂದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಕಾಯ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ.
West Coast people who are staying in West Coast is a lot easier, but the East Coast I think is a little bit late, but one day.
It is a weekend.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಆತ್ಮೀಯ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಭಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಪೂಜ್ಯ ಶ್ರೀಪಾದರ ಒಂದು ಸಂಪರ್ಕ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, 2-3 ಸರಿ ಟ್ರೈ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಸತ್ರವನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಮುಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. ಆಚಾರ್ಯರ ಹೃದಯದಲ್ಲಿ ನೆಲೆಸಿದ ಕೃಷ್ಣನಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಾಕ್ ಕುಸುಮವನ್ನ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಹಿ ಜ್ಞಾನೇನ ಸದೃಶಂ ಪವಿತ್ರಮಿಹ ವಿದ್ಯತೆ ಅಂತ, ಜ್ಞಾನ ಯಜ್ಞಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಪವಿತ್ರವಾದದ್ದು ಯಾವುದೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. ದ್ರವ್ಯ ಯಜ್ಞ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಹೇಳೋದು ಜ್ಞಾನ ಯಜ್ಞವೇ ಶ್ರೇಷ್ಠವಾದದ್ದು ಅಂತ. ಅಂತಹ ಜ್ಞಾನ ಯಜ್ಞದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಆ ಗುರುಗಳ ಅನುಗ್ರಹದಿಂದ ಕೃಷ್ಣನ ಪ್ರೇರಣೆಯಂತೆ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ಮಧ್ವರೇ ಒಳಗೆ ನಿಂತು ಆ ಶಬ್ದಗಳನ್ನ ನುಡಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಕಾರಣ ಏನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಬಾಯಿಯಿಂದ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಶಬ್ದ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಕೂಡ ಮಮ ವಾಚ ಮಿಮಾಂ ಪ್ರಸುಪ್ತಾಂ ಸಂಜೀವಯತಿ ಅವನು ಹೇಳದೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ಆ ಭಾಗವತದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಪಿಲ ನಾಮಕ ಪರಮಾತ್ಮ ಇದನ್ನ ಹೇಳ್ತಾನ ತಾಯಿಗೆ, ನನ್ನ ಶಬ್ದಗಳು ನಾಲಿಗೆಯಿಂದ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ನಾನೇ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ನಿಯಾಮಕನಾಗಿರ್ತೇನೆ. ವಾಚ್ಯ ಮಾನೋಪಿ ನಬ್ರೂತೆ ಕಾಲಪಾಶ ವಶಂಗತಃ ಅಂತ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ದೇವರ ಆ ಶಬ್ದಗಳು ನಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಅವನ ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಅಂತ ತಿಳಿತಾ ಇವತ್ತು ಸುದೀನ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಭಾವಿಸ್ತಾ,
ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ ಆಚಾರ್ಯ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿದ ಮಾತುಗಳಂತೆ ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಸಲ ಅನುಭವ ಆಗತ್ತೆ. ಅಯ್ಯೋ ನಾನು ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೇಳಿಲ್ವಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕೆ
ಹಾ.
ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಅನಿಸಿದ್ರು ಹೇಳಲಿಲ್ಲ. ಭಗವಂತ ನುಡಿಸಿದರೆ ನುಡಿತೀವಿ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ಲ.
ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕಪಿಲನಾಮಕನಿಗೆ ಆ ಮಾತು, ಕಪಿಲನಾಮಕ ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಹೇಳುವ ರಹಸ್ಯ, ನಾಲಿಗೆ ಗಟ್ಟೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇಂದ್ರಿಯ ಗಟ್ಟೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಆದ್ರೆ ಶಬ್ದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟ ಬರ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನಾನ್ ಇರ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತಾರೆ.
ಹೌದು.
ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇವತ್ತು ಒಳ್ಳೆಯ ಒಂದು ಚಿಂತನೆಯನ್ನ ಭಗವಂತ ನಮಗೆ ನಡೆಸಿಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾನೆ. ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೂ ನಡೆದ ಈ ಸತ್ರವನ್ನ ಅವನ ಪಾದಾರವಿಂದಗಳಿಗೆ ಇದು ವಾಕ್ಕುಸುಮವಾಗಿ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆಯನ್ನ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ಅನೇಕ ಯೋಜನೆಗಳು ವಾಂಗ್ಮಯ ಸೇವೆಗಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಸಂಕಲ್ಪ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪೂರ್ಣ ಸಹಕಾರದಿಂದ ಇದಾಗಬೇಕು. ಬಹುಶಃ ಈ ಒಂದು ವಾರದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವೊಂದು ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ಒಂದು ಮೀಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಒಂದು ಸೇವೆ, ಗುರುಗಳು ಕೃಷ್ಣನ ಸನ್ನಿಧಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದಾಗ 2 ವರ್ಷ ಏನೇನು ಸಾಧ್ಯವಿದೆಯೋ ಈ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸಮಯವನ್ನ ದೇವರಿಗೆ ಇಟ್ಟು ನಾವು ಸೇವೆಯನ್ನ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷ ಸ್ಥಾನವನ್ನ ಅಲಂಕರಿಸಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿಯವರೆಗೂ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆಗಿದ್ದಂತಹ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸರ ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಮಠದ ಆಸ್ಥಾನ ವಿದ್ವಾಂಸರು ಆದಂತಹ ಕೇಶವ ತಾಡಿಪತ್ರಿ ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಶ್ರೀಮಠದ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಅಭಿಮಾನ ಪೂರ್ವಕವಾದ ಧನ್ಯವಾದವನ್ನ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮನೆಯ ಒತ್ತಡದ ಕೆಲಸಗಳನ್ನು ಬದಿಗಿಟ್ಟು ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಮೀರಾ ತಾಡಿಪತ್ರಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬಹುದು, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಆಗಿರ್ಬಹುದು, ಇವತ್ತು ಯಾವ್ದು ದಾನ ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ಸಮಯ ದಾನಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಟೈಮ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತೀವಿ, ಯಾರು ರೆಡಿ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಅಲ್ಲ, ಕೊನೆಗೆ ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬರ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಅಷ್ಟಾದ್ರೂ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದಾಗಿತ್ತಲ್ಲ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಇಲ್ರಿ, ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಟೈಮ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ, ಯಾವ್ದಕ್ಕೂ ಟೈಮೇ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇಷ್ಟು ಟೈಮ್ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ, ತುಂಬಾ ಸಂತೋಷ. ಇದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು ಆನ್ಲೈನ್ ಮೂಲಕ, ಇದು ದೇವರು ಕೊಟ್ಟ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಇದು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇದ್ರ ಮೂಲಕವೇ ವಾಂಗ್ಮಯ ಸೇವೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗವಹಿಸೋಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ, ಇಲ್ಲಿವರೆಗೂ ಪ್ರಬಂಧವನ್ನ ಮಂಡನೆ ಮಾಡಿದ ನೀವೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನ ಸಲ್ಲಿಸ್ತಾ ಈ ಸತ್ರವನ್ನ ದೇವರಿಗೆ ಸಮರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ. ಶ್ರೀ ಕೃಷ್ಣಾರ್ಪಣಮಸ್ತು, ಮಧ್ವೇಶಾರ್ಪಣಮಸ್ತು.
ಜೈ ಶ್ರೀ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ತುಂಬಾ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ತುಂಬಾ ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ
ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರ, ಎಲ್ಲ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರ,
ಓಕೆ,
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸಹಕಾರ. ಆಯ್ತು, ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
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 ಶ್ರೀ ಕೃಷ್ಣಾರ್ಪಣ.
ಹರೇ ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ.
ಹರೇ ಕೃಷ್ಣ.
ಹರೇ ಶ್ರೀನಿವಾಸ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
ದೇವ ನುಡಿಸಲ್ವ